The Valley of Peace Farmers Association is still reeling from losses suffered as a result of the flood last month. They have completed their assessments of the fields, and their numbers show that more than 100 acres of crops were wiped out. This includes 300,000 heads of cabbage, 36,000 tomato plants, and 8,000 sweet pepper.
In cabbage, we have about 22 acres, and we are talking about 340,000 plants in different stages that was flooded, that was completely lost. In tomato, we do have 9 acres, and sweet pepper, we have 2 acres also. And we do have the losses. There were many crops also, but they were minimum. The total losses is about 122 acres of crops that was damaged.
While it's a tough loss, it's also the biggest they've suffered to date as a result of flooding. There are some farmers who have returned to the soil to sow seedlings to kickstart their livelihoods. They also have a few crops almost ready for harvest. But chairman of the Valley of Peace Farmers Association, Ever Blandon, says not all farmers have that opportunity. Some farmers have had to abandon farming and seek employment outside of the community. This is bad news for the farmers and consumers alike. After all, the Valley of Peace Farmers Association, that's made up of 60 families, is the country's largest cabbage producer. And currently, Blandon says they simply cannot supply the local market.
It's a difficult time for farmers. We are, as farmers, starting to do again seedlings. We have seedlings. Some farmers have gone to work outside because they cannot continue farming and they have to bring food to their family. So, but yes, some farmers, they are continue planting. We have seedlings right now that will be ready to plant in a couple of weeks.
But I imagine you guys are still not able to plant the quantities that the market requires.
Yes, that's right. The quantity, I think, is half of the amount that the market demand. Because in that way you could see the price gone up, and I think they will need to import some to fill the market.
Blandon says that while the Ministry of Agriculture has conducted assessments, this kind of help takes too long to reach the farmers. And so he's calling on the government to introduce low-interest loans to be made available to farmers so that they can get back to planting.
The assistance of the farmers sometimes take a little bit long and sometimes never reach, because some farmer lost in June, the flooding in June, and still has some farmer that never get something of that. But what I always think that not everything come free, but I will suggest that government look for some loans to farmer with low interest and facilitate to farmers so that they could start over planting.
In this area of the farmlands, this is what it looked like over 2 weeks ago. Water covered everywhere, and we couldn't even walk here. Today, that water has receded and it's accessible. But the soil is still waterlogged, and the only other evidence of the destruction that passed through these fields are bits and pieces of rotting crops left behind. It's a long road ahead for the farmers to get back on their feet, yet they remain hopeful. But as Blandon points out, they will not be able to supply the quantity nor the quality that Belizeans expect from the Valley of Peace crops.
Well, what we could see is just the almost nothing, even grass to the cows you could see there. From cabbage you can find nothing. This tomatoes was almost washed away. There's nothing.
And I imagine it will take the farmers some time to prepare the soil and get it ready again for crops?
Yes, we're still waiting to the soil to get dry. Right now still water running in some ditch there. Yeah, it will take a while, but we are hoping that we will have a early window to do our land preparation.
What are your expectations for those crops? Will they be the quality of crops that you've always gotten, or do you think the flooding is still going to have an impact on these new crops?
Definitely there will be not the best crop that we used to harvest or have the here, but we are hoping in God that God give us the wisdom and do what is our best to do to have the best crop.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.